they lived the high life, right? They went and bought their private jet. They went and bought the big house. They bought the yacht. They had it all, right? And they were living the life. And then when a little adversity happened, they couldn't handle it because they already spent all their money. They didn't have reserves. Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Are you ready to start investing in real estate today but don't know where to start? Sometimes investing can seem way too complicated, but it actually couldn't be any easier than with homeinvest.com. You know the co-founder and my friend Nate Armstrong. He appeared on episode 20, and if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it, episode number 20. Home Invest is a company that allows you to invest in turnkey real estate. Their goal is to build powerful investment tools that make real estate investing accessible to everyone. They have contractors and property managers available for you with the click of your mouse. While other real estate agents can only offer a property, Home Invest brings you a full turnkey package that allows you to diversify your investments, earn passive income, and start building equity in properties. Their simple, intuitive design allows newcomers and experienced investors alike to hit the ground running and to be able to choose the properties when they want and where they want. View easy to understand charts and data to allow you to buy in only a few clicks or just a simple phone call. With Home Invest, you'll be building your portfolio as quickly or as slowly as you would like. And right now, Home Invest is giving our listeners, Pillar of Wealth Creation listeners, a free course on how to finally win in real estate investing. So go to homeinvest.com/pillars. That's homeinvest.com/pillars to claim your free course today. Welcome to another Hump Day Hustle. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. With me, as always, is John Stiles with Bridge Realty. John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good, Todd. We just got back recently from our little trip out down south, I suppose. My sister got married down in Tennessee. We did a little road trip, and then on the way back, we stopped at Wisconsin Dells with the kids and got a little swimming in. So got some time away, which was good, and now I'm trying to get back in the saddle and get things figured out here.
Fun times. We are actually going to the Wisconsin Dells in like maybe a month or so.
Fun.
Yeah, probably at least a month, because we've got the next like 4 weekends we're going camping. So excited about that. The kids are like super excited. My 5-year-old son just like can't stop talking about camping. That's all he talks about is camping. The camper. He loves the camper. Wants me to pop it up every day. So we've got a little pop-up camper, and loves it. So excited.
Yeah, those are fun times.
Yeah, you gotta spend them, enjoy them with the kids, because they grow fast, man. My daughter's 9. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, when you go out there, just be sure to put the sunscreen on in the morning, because I forgot my sunscreen in the morning, and still dealing with the sunburn a little bit there.
Yeah. I try not to burn it anymore. I used to just do it at the beginning of every summer. I'd just purposely go out and get sunburnt because then I would tan. I'm that type of person that you get burnt once and then you tan and then you're good for the rest of the year. You never burn again. But now I just try not to get burnt, period, because I don't know. I'm getting old, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't want skin cancer.
That's a good goal.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. On my front, looks like we've got this deal completely wrapped up and be closing on here in around about 30 days, just over 30 days. So before the end of July, we should be closing on the 120 unit that I've probably been talking about for, it seems like a year, but it's been a while. And then I had a trip to Cincinnati and Lexington, which went pretty well, and actually ran over to Indianapolis. Did I talk about that the last time that I went to Indianapolis? And
You mentioned that was going on, but I don't know.
yeah, so I went to Indianapolis and viewed this property. It was, I liked the property. It was they told me it was a B class property. I would call it like a C plus probably. So I think they're stretching it quite a bit there, which again, we've talked about, brokers and not that they're lying. Everybody's got their own opinions, but you've got to do your own due diligence, essentially is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, so the broker called me up and said, "Hey, what'd you think about the property?" He wasn't there. Somebody else showed me. And I said, "Well, yeah, I liked it." I told him exactly what I just said. And I said, there's some, a bit of work there, but I'm definitely interested. It's just going to reflect in my offer price. He said, "Okay, well, I'm actually calling you because of the area." I said, "Oh yeah, what's going on?" He said, "Well, there was a murder over the weekend." I'm like, oh, great. I said, "Well, I'm still interested, but that's definitely going to lower my purchase price." So then as I'm on the phone with them, I'm doing a Google search of this property, and I find that there was another murder like 4 years ago. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'm not quite as interested in this property as I thought I was. So the importance of doing some Google searches on your properties that you're purchasing, and I always do that. And this one I hadn't offered on, so I hadn't done it yet. But I always do that as some searches just to see what kind of crime's happening. You search that property name and just some keywords like crime. Say if you're buying the dirt ball estates, dirt ball estates, and you look up dirt ball estates, crime, dirt ball estates, murders, dirt ball estates, stuff like that, and see if anything comes up. That way you can kind of get an idea of what's going on at that property. So this,
Sure.
it was interesting. I don't know if I'm going to offer on that property or not. The offers were due. I think it was this week. I think it was on Friday. The offers were due, and they actually extended the offers now until mid-July, and they might extend it even farther because they want to know what actually happened. Because right now they don't know why the murder happened and if it was an accident or if it was, not an accident. So they're trying to figure that out. Anyways, so just a interesting little deal. And yeah, but it was a good trip. I got to see property we're currently working on, meet with the contractor, go through everything with them, and really make sure our game plan is we're on the same page, which we are, which is good. And look at quite a few new properties that have a lot of potential on them that I'll be putting offers on as well. So yeah, it's a good deal.
Nice. Sounds
What are
like
the
you're
one of the
rolling on all those.
well, rolling on having potential opportunities. But it's about putting those opportunities, together. And in this type of market, that's what you should expect. You should expect a lot of potential opportunities, but you should also expect a lot of potential opportunities that just don't work. And then you should only be getting a few of those deals at all. So I had a train of thought. I can't remember. Anyways, let's go on to today's topic.
Yeah. So I heard you were playing in the dirt out in the backyard.
Yep.
You rented a skid steer. Is that right?
Yep.
How'd that go?
I had the old Bobcat. It went well, except one little snafu, which we'll talk about. But
And first of all, what are you doing with all that dirt?
so I decided I was gonna get my man card out and be a tough guy and play in the dirt, and I kind of wanted to. I thought about hiring it out, and I thought, I kind of want to do this. It'd be fun. When I did remodeling construction, I did remodeling construction for about 10 years, right? 10 summers. Worked my way through college and then after college. So I operated a skid steer quite a bit. And my old house in St. Paul, I used the skid steer to do the whole backyard. And so I thought, well, this will be fun. I'm okay at it. So I ended up getting 75 yards of black dirt for topsoil. I got 40 yards of fill. And this is already after I had a guy last year that came in and scraped. My yard the front yard was kind of a weird hill, and it had a ton of trees in it. It took all the trees, not all the trees, but it took a handful of trees down. And so it was just like stumps and bumps in it. So I had him last year come in and grade and swipe that all away. But then there was like rocks and stuff everywhere. So we needed to bring in topsoil. And he brought all that stuff to my backyard where there's a steep hill, and he filled kind of that hill in to actually give us more of a yard. So that's what I ended up doing. I filled even a little bit more, and then brought the topsoil in. And then I also brought in some gravel and some sand for a patio that we're going to be putting in. So I rented the skid steer to move all that stuff. So I had 75 yards of black dirt. I had 40 yards of the fill. I had another 30 yards of gravel, and I had 12 yards of sand. Had to move all that stuff. And then I had a little bit of other work I wanted to do in the yard, moving some stuff around. So it was playtime. And I got to give my 5-year-old a couple little rides on the skid steer. So he had a lot of fun too. Mm-hmm. So anyways, as I'm going, things are going well. And I go to, it's probably halfway through my experience, and I go to pick up this big load of dirt, and I, get the blade down and I drive it forward, get in there good, because I want a big load, because you get bigger loads, right, it's going to take you less time. So I scoop it, and I immediately start lifting it, which is a mistake if you're going to scoop a huge load of dirt with dirt on top of it, because now you're scooping what your bucket can handle, but then you've got dirt on top of it, so your bucket can't handle it, so your skid steer can't handle that. So anyway, so I lift it straight up, and I lifted it kind of fast, and my skid steer starts to rock forward and kind of starts to rock back a little bit. But my first reaction was to keep on pushing down to lift my whole arm up. And the higher you lift the arm, the more weight is in the front, thus tipping you over. And that's what I did. And so my whole skid steer is almost horizontal to the ground. My bucket's way down on the ground, and I'm tipped up. So I'm doing like the Superman in my skid steer. And the reaction was just to keep on pushing the same way. It wasn't to stop and go the other way. And it's just in your brain was like that. And my brain might be messed up, but that's what it was. There's no debate in that, by the way. So finally I stopped, and I like corrected myself, stopped the panic mode, corrected myself, and I tried to tip it back up, but there's just too much weight. It wouldn't go anywhere. And so I stopped and said, okay, well, now what do I do? And so I took a few seconds to figure out, what do I need to do to get this thing back up? And it saved myself from some embarrassment, because the delivery guy is still bringing more dirt to my house, and he's going to be back soon. And I didn't want him to be seeing this. And I didn't want to like have to call somebody and rented this thing too. So I don't want to break it. I don't want to call somebody. So I got to figure out what to do. So I'm like, okay, logically, if I get out and I scoop dirt out of the bucket, I should be able to get back in and push myself up. Worst case, it'll actually flip up as I'm scooping it out. So I had to be careful with how I was scooping it. So I made sure I wasn't on the bucket, because I didn't want to go flying myself. So that worked. I scooped it all out. I jumped back in, which is a challenge when it's tipped up like that. It's a challenge to get it out. But I got back out, and then I was able to then lower the bucket, which tipped me back up and got me going. Now, why am I telling this story? Because this is nothing related with pillars of wealth creation, right? But I'm telling this story because I think often in business we do the same type of thing, right? We make a mistake, we go down a path, and oftentimes we even know it's not right, but we keep that pedal down, right? We just keep on doing exactly what we're doing, and we don't correct it. It's just that our reaction is just to keep on going because that's what we were doing in the first place. And so we get stuck, and if we don't eventually figure it out, we're gonna put ourselves out. So if this is happening to you, if you're stuck in that rut, you need to stop. You need to get out. You need to think about what you're doing, and you need to dig and then make that correction. So, but for us, the goal is to not even really. We're going to get ourselves in that position, right? We're going to get ourselves into mistakes, but it's not to keep pushing the pedal down, but react the right way in the first time, right?
So this is really important. I mean, we know that in life and in business, mistakes are inevitable.
Right.
And oftentimes they're really necessary in order to find the success that we're really after. So I think the trick is, really identifying when you have discovered your mistake and not continue on with it too long.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I didn't do the same thing in the skid steer again, but as I was driving, I picked up a pretty heavy load again, and it started to kind of tip forward. And one of the things I changed is every time when I when I would scoop a load and pick it up, first of all, I would back up before picking it up. So I made sure I only had that dirt, not dirt above me. But then I would go very slowly to get it up. It wouldn't go very high up off the ground, just high enough so where the bucket wouldn't drop. But then this time when it started to tip forward, I just lifted my foot up right away. That was my first reaction, was to lift my foot up. And that way, the worst that would happen is it would tip down to the bucket, which in this case was only, 3-4 inches. That's no big deal. So it tipped and went, and it kind of rocked a little bit. And then I was able to, correct it and move on and continue. So knowing, what corrections to make is important. So,
yeah.
So, I kind of came up with the list of a few things that we can do to help us along the way, as we're either making mistakes or prior to making mistakes. First, understand you're going to make a mistake. It's going to happen. So what we want to do is we want to be able to identify those mistakes, quickly, and then identify how to make the change. And I was actually on a podcast interview the other day, and I was talking with somebody, and they mentioned that they mentioned the mistakes they made, but they mentioned that you need a plan for mistakes. And I thought that was really valuable advice, is talked about what are some mistakes that you can make in your business? What are some mistakes in real estate? For instance, in real estate, we know that crashes can happen. So how are we going to mitigate those crashes? What are we going to do that help us during that time and before that time? So you got to identify what your potential mistakes are, so that when those do happen or something similar happens, how to make that change. I thought that was really important. So for instance, in real estate, having enough in reserve capital is really, really important, because we do know that things come up. We do know that markets crash. We do know that vacancies happen. We do know that repairs happen. So if we have enough cash sitting there, liquid, ready for us to deploy, that's really important. Another guy I talked to recently he'll be on. He works with or he is the CEO of Credit Suite, and he talked about the same thing, kind of having the credit, having your business credit. So and separating your business from your personal credit. So when stuff happens, you're not taking your whole self down. You're maybe hopefully only taking your business down. Hopefully not even that, but that at least you're mitigating some of your risk. So understanding some potential pitfalls and then planning for those. How do I get out of those pitfalls? So I think it's really important.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes we as humans, and maybe even specifically we as men, like to just do,
Mm-hmm.
um, and not, we'll just figure it out when it happens. But there's definitely some benefit to thinking through what you're about to do and thinking through what could go wrong,
Yeah.
and preparing for it. So.
Yep, for sure.
So, another thing is to just kind of stay out of ruts. And so if you know, there's a mistake that could happen, or there's a routine that's going to cause a mistake, to just stay out of that. Or what else would you say about what's a rut in business that you should stay out of?
Well, I think it's oftentimes we just continue to do something, right? We just continue to we know maybe something's not getting results, and we just continue to do it. We just continue to do the exact same thing over and over and over. Or maybe it's the industry's changing that you're in, but we just continue to move forward just because that's what we're comfortable with. So a lot of times it's just because we get comfortable. We get in that rut, we get comfortable, and we just keep on moving forward when we know we shouldn't keep on moving forward. But again, it's easy, it's comfortable. That's kind of where it is.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, they can be difficult too, because sometimes you have to balance testing something for a lengthy enough time in order to give it a chance to work. For example, marketing, you
Sure.
can't just do one piece of direct mail and expect it's going to work. And it didn't work, so it must have been a mistake. There has to be some trial period for some things, and then then you can, once you get results, you can test what were the correct results. So there's sometimes you got to make a balance between those two.
Yeah, and that's the difficulty of owning your own business and being an entrepreneur. Is there's road maps, but there's nobody there, and there's nothing that's telling you exactly what to do step by step. So you have to, a lot of it, you have to feel things out. Like you said, you can't just start marketing for a month and expect great results and then stop because you don't get results. Same thing with, like, for instance, a podcast. I mean, people that have been doing podcasts for 5-6 years are going to have a big audience. But then when you start doing a podcast, if you don't have a big audience month one or even year one, are you going to quit and give up?
Hmm.
You've got to look at, does that make sense? But if you're, so you kind of have to, it's almost intuition a little bit. It's also analytics. You got to look at the numbers. Is your if we're talking about the podcast again, is your podcast increasing in numbers, or is it just never, that needle's never moving? If you're never getting any more listeners and you're doing everything you feel you need to be doing, well, maybe then you should stop potentially. But if your listener base is increasing, people are giving you positive feedback, well, then how do we continue, building that audience? And maybe you don't need to build a big audience either. Maybe you just need to add value to the audience you currently have. And that's something that, for me, that's really what I want to do. If my audience grows, great. But right now, I just want to add a lot of value to the audience that I have right now. I've got a nice size audience, and I just want to add as much value as I can. So sometimes it's not about that growth, and you have to then stop and reflect and go, is that needed? Or am I in a good position right now? And do I have to just to take care of the business that's being done? So
Yeah, definitely.
either way,
So
if you're in a rut, you need to stop doing what you're doing. And I'm not saying just stop. If you're marketing, you just need to stop marketing. I'm not saying that. You need to stop. You need to reflect. You need to think about where you're at, where you want to go. And then you need to think about the steps needed to get out of whatever rut you're in.
yeah, and then another consideration for all of this is just to have people in your life who can kind of have an outsider's view of what you're doing, and give you their wisdom, their feedback.
Yeah.
That can be really important to get, because we get kind of like tunnel vision when we're inside of whatever we're doing. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mentors, coaches, business associates, business partners. If you're a bigger company, maybe key employees around you, maybe other executives or whatever. Um, I think the other thing too, John, is we all get very embarrassed by our mistakes. Not always, but sometimes we get embarrassed by our mistakes instead of embracing them. So or we're embarrassed by the lack of results that we're getting. Maybe we've had success before and now we're not having success. So we get kind of embarrassed by that. We don't want to tell people about it. And that's not going to do anybody any good because you're just going to keep on down that path. So being able to talk to coaches, mentors, partners, whatever it might be, is to me is really important. Mastermind groups, all that kind of stuff. So embrace your mistakes. Don't be embarrassed by them. The only way you're going to get, better in business and in life is if you can embrace your mistakes and understand that they happen. They happen to everyone. So every time I ask that question to people on podcasts, I almost get the same type of reaction. Oh, geez, I've made so many mistakes. Which one do you want to talk about? It's almost everybody's got that. You just like focus and listen when I ask that question and see what people do. Is almost everybody says a similar thing is like, I've made so many. What do you want me to talk about? So.
yeah, we get, like you said, we get embarrassed about like lack of results or something like that. But if we just keep that to ourselves, then we might be missing out on an opportunity to grow. Whereas if we share that frustration with somebody else who has experience in the same business, and they can just kind of look at what we're doing and maybe point out, oh, well, have you tried this? Or, you really shouldn't be doing that. By sharing the mistake, or even if you don't know what the mistake is, you can get positive feedback. And if you're in that type of environment, people are usually in a very giving spirit, and they want to see you succeed. If they don't, then that's the wrong person. But it's really beneficial to be to have other people in your life that can give you that type of feedback.
Yeah, it's especially helpful to have somebody that's very successful right now, but you know that people that are very successful right now, unless you're really young and maybe they haven't had a setback yet, but especially if you've got I'll call them a gray hair, if you've got a person that's older, and I'm not even saying older, 40, they've made mistakes or they've had struggles and they understand exactly where you're coming from. So for instance, if you're a realtor and you're not getting the results you want, go ask the successful realtor what you need to do and ask them, how they got out of, the ruts that they were in, because I guarantee it's happened and they've got good tips and pointers. Anybody in any type of sales has had times where they weren't making any money and they were worried about, is this the right choice for me to make? So yeah, I mean, talking to people that are successful and that have been there before is going to be really helpful for sure.
Yeah, when I first got into real estate, initially I got into property management, and I wanted to just start my own company. Although I didn't know anything about real estate, I just figured I could do it. Then I found out that you have to join an existing brokerage, and you can't be your own broker for at least 2 years, I believe the time frame is.
In Minnesota.
So initially I didn't like that idea, but there's so much now that I've been an agent for 8+ years. And there's so much still that I don't know, that I actually now appreciate the fact that I have a broker, somebody who's been in the business so much longer than I have, that I can always go to, and they're on my side. So it's actually a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice to have people around you that have already made mistakes. Yeah. And the last kind of thing that came up with was, don't take a bigger scoop than your business can handle. So, and this happens all the time with businesses. The scoops are taken are just way too big. And that you're in there, you're thinking, I'm making all this money. What do I need to do? I got to ramp up. I got to ramp up really fast. And so you want to prosper. You want to start making that money. You want your business to grow. And so you just go too big, too fast. And you end up making a lot of mistakes that ultimately hurt your business. You would have been better off by going a lot slower, potentially, hiring the right people, all that kind of stuff. So if you're in that type of rut, you need to stop, slow down, maybe even downsize a little bit. And then figure out the systems that you need to put in, figure out the employees that you need, figure out all that kind of stuff before you really then start to ramp back up. If you just keep on trying to go, I think you're just going to keep on making big mistakes, and you're going to have a sloppy business that's doing potentially a lot of volume with very little profit. And that's what a lot of businesses get caught up in. They get caught up in that volume, and they're doing, let's say, $10 million worth of business. But with that $10 million worth of business, the profit margin is only, 5% or something small. And they could be doing $5 million worth of business and be making 20% profit margin. So why do more with less profit? Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. So you got to figure out, what size scoop works for the machine that you have, and make sure that you're taking the right size scoop that your business can actually handle.
Yep. Well, that's really important. And, I'm kind of reminded of a story, I think it's in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, where he talks about, it's a good idea if you can make your big mistakes before you're 30. I think that's in that book. Yep. So that you have time to recover, you have time to be successful again. Whereas if you're so fearful about making mistakes, and then you don't make any until you're 60 or 70 or whatever, and then by that time you can't recover from that mistake. So
yeah, you've got to be so much more conservative too. Making mistakes, anybody that's listening that's not married, doesn't have any kids, take the risks now. Try to make your mistakes now, because it's really easy to recover when it's just you. Once you start having kids and have more to think and worry about, and you're closer to retirement, especially, or whatever you want to call retirement, but you're closer to death. You want to be more careful and more conservative. You got a lot more to lose at that time. If you lose everything and you've got your wife and kids, well, that can change a lot. So yeah, that actually goes onto this book that I just read, John.
Okay.
Mistakes millionaires make. And one of the things that it was kind of a depressing book. I would recommend it to anybody. But it just, a lot of these stories in here are these millionaires. One of the biggest mistakes I think that most of them make, there's tons of mistakes in here. There's tons of different valuable insights, but one of the biggest mistakes I think everybody or nearly everybody in this book made is they lived the high life, right? They went and bought their private jet. They went and bought the big house. They bought the yacht. They had it all, right? And they were living the life. And then when a little adversity happened, they couldn't handle it because they already spent all their money. They didn't have reserves. So there's two things: no reserves and living the life. Those are the two biggest mistakes that everybody or nearly everybody in this book made. That was what I took more out of this book than anything, is live well below your means, and also make sure you have plenty of capital in reserves, plenty of credit in reserve, to be able to make it through a tough time, because tough times will happen. Our economy is humming along really good right now, right? There's no end in sight. I would challenge anybody to tell me what the end in sight is. You can come up with stuff, but I don't think you can have a lot of fact-based, scenarios that we're going to crash within the next couple months or whatever. Other than we know economies go up and down. We just know. We know it's going to eventually. The market will eventually crash. And when it does, if you're not prepared, it's going to take you with it. It doesn't have mercy upon you because you're a good person. I wish it did. But yeah, so that's one of the biggest things I took from that book. It's a good book. I would, tell anybody to read it. Just know that while you're reading it, you're going to be kind of like worried and depressed and like not want to do business anymore. But when you step back after reading the book and you reflect upon it, hopefully you take some valuable lessons from it.
Was there a good redeeming conclusion in the book? Or
no, it wasn't. I don't know if there was a redeeming conclusion. I mean, most of the people that lost it all are doing well now. So if that's what you want to call a redeeming conclusion, most of them are, life is good. A lot of them have made it all back, and then some. There was some heartbreak in it. There's some of them that got divorced and stuff like that, but they've been remarried, or life is good now. But they, hopefully everybody in here learned their lessons. Most of them, talk about the lessons that they learned. So, yeah, and so I think, yeah, that would be important, is that you can always earn it all back. But again, you don't want it. That takes a toll on you, right? It takes a toll on you. You want to try to avoid those big mistakes. Make little mistakes. I think Kiyosaki, when you talk about Kiyosaki, he talks about that too. Make a lot of little mistakes. Try to protect yourself from making the big mistakes, and instead make little mistakes that you can learn from to avoid the big mistake. So
great.
Yeah. We put ourselves out there as entrepreneurs. I mean, that's what you do. If you want it to be easy, become an employee. That's it. You can get a new job, you get fired, get a new job. But entrepreneurs, there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of risk. There's a ton of reward. But you put yourself out there, and you might think you're on top of the world one day. And if you're not, being diligent, and you're not, having the reserves, and you're living that high lifestyle, and things do change, you might find yourself in a ditch. So, woohoo!
Well, very good. So, for our listeners out there, we appreciate you tuning in either on iTunes or Skype, or watching the video on YouTube. So we'd love your interaction with our show here. So if you got some thoughts on mistakes and how to balance testing strategies and versus making mistakes that you could have avoided, feel free to comment below.
Yeah.
We'd love to get your review and your feedback. So be sure to hit the subscribe, hit the thumbs up, hit the 5-star rating, and we appreciate that.
Well, yeah, and anybody who's got, a plan type of thing, or things that they do to make sure when they do make a mistake, they can correct it quickly. If anybody's got that, we'd love to have, you just to type that up in Facebook and let us know, or YouTube, either one. Let us know, and so we can share it with the community. We can talk about it next week too on the show. And yeah, it'd be great. So anybody that's got that wants to share, if you want to share anything on Facebook or YouTube, or any topics you want us to talk about too, you can do that as well. So
Very
cool.
good.
John, I think that's it. You have a great rest of the day. Make every day Saturday, man.
You too.
Are you ready to start investing in real estate today but don't know where to start? Sometimes investing can seem way too complicated, but it actually couldn't be any easier than with homeinvest.com. You know the co-founder and my friend Nate Armstrong. He appeared on episode 20, and if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it, episode number 20. Home Invest is a company that allows you to invest in turnkey real estate. Their goal is to build powerful investment tools that make real estate investing accessible to everyone. They have contractors and property managers available for you with the click of your mouse. While other real estate agents can only offer a property, Home Invest brings you a full turnkey package that allows you to diversify your investments, earn passive income, and start building equity in properties. Their simple, intuitive design allows newcomers and experienced investors alike to hit the ground running and to be able to choose the properties when they want and where they want. View easy to understand charts and data to allow you to buy in only a few clicks or just a simple phone call. With Home Invest, you'll be building your portfolio as quickly or as slowly as you would like. And right now, Home Invest is giving our listeners, Pillar of Wealth Creation listeners, a free course on how to finally win in real estate investing. So go to homeinvest.com/pillars. That's homeinvest.com/pillars to claim your free course today.